Hello and welcome to the Vergecast, the flagship podcast of making things translucent, then a little less translucent, then a little more translucent again. I'm Jake Kastrenakes, executive editor of The Verge. Nilay Patel, David Pierce, those guys aren't here. They're at home. They have newborns. They're taking some time off on parental leave. They'll be back later this year. Today, we've got a really fun show. Later on, Verge transportation editor Andy Hawkins is going to join us, and Eater LA editor Matthew Kang is going to come on, and we're going to be talking about Tesla and the new Tesla diner. I thought this was a joke when they announced it. It is a real thing. They really announced this and launched a diner. Then the Thunder Round is back, new and improved, as always. But first, it's a big Apple week, so we've got to talk about Apple. We've got two Verge reviewers here to talk about it. In the studio with me, Vee Song.
Hello.
And we've got Antonio Di Benedetto.
Hello.
So breaking news, like an hour ago, right before we recorded this, Apple launched the public betas for iOS 26, iPadOS 26, watchOS 26. I think like everything except Vision OS.
No, everything is 26.
Everything is 26 now.
Everything is 26 now.
You can now download them. You can try them out. Maybe don't if it's like your primary device, but if you got an extra iPad lying around, this is its moment. So big features across the board. There's Liquid Glass, the brand new design style that is across all of the new operating systems. There's a new Games app. There are lots of power user features, particularly on the Mac and the iPad. So Vee, Antonio, both of you have been testing these for a while because you've been in the developer beta. I just got my hands on with these because, okay, I got banned from the developer beta. Did you know that you can get kicked out of the developer beta?
I did not know you could. What did you do?
I didn't think I did anything. So this is like new-ish, right? Like Apple used to require you to like pay $100 or something to get in the developer program if you wanted to get the developer betas. And a lot of people were like, yeah, sure. But recently, you've been able to like get in for free, which is great, right? Anybody can just get the developer beta if they really want to. However, you have to fill out an application, right? There's like, you have to find some weird web pages. I know you both went through this, but you got to find the right web page. You got to go to the application. And then it says like, put in your information to apply. And I was like, yeah, sure. I've put in my information on 1 million forms on the web every single day. So I'm like, Jake, okay, here's my address. Turns out, if you do not precisely enter this information, Apple compares it to your Apple ID. And they're like, no, this is not correct.
This is privacy and security.
Shut down.
Oh, goodness.
Down and out. You're done. One chance and you're booted.
You're banned for life?
I think so. I Googled this and there's a bunch of people on Reddit who were just like, yeah, man, I tried contacting them. I've sent so many emails. Nobody responds. There's nothing you can do. You just got to make a new Apple ID. You're just like, you're stuck.
Oh my God. That's, wow.
The EU has to get involved, obviously. That's the solution. If Fortnite can go back on the App Store, then you can get the developer beta again. There's got to be a way.
I should be able to lie on my developer application.
Wow.
And I think it is inappropriate that they enforced that I enter my name correctly.
Did you spell your name wrong?
I guess okay. I mean, yes. I think, in fact, that is what happened. And look, they got me there. I could have spelled my name better, but I didn't know they were checking.
That's a little unhinged.
Yeah.
It's a little unhinged.
That's honestly, that's like extremely Apple of them to be like,
Jack Kastrenakes strikes again.
You have to do this precisely our way, or you're not worthy of the developer beta. I wasn't worthy, you two were.
I'm sorry.
So, as two worthy fellows in Apple's eyes, we're right. They announced Liquid Glass. They announced new operating systems at WWDC, start of June. You've both been testing these in different forms, different devices for the past 2 months. Liquid Glass was like, controversial.
Liquid
at first.
ass.
How are we feeling 2 months in?
Liquid ass. I do not. Well, okay. I have a more nuanced take rather than just it's all ass, which is it's ass on the iPhone. But it's okay on the watch and on Mac.
Interesting.
It's okay on those platforms. And I think my problem with the phone, which I shall bring out now because you were asking me earlier to take a little gander at it. And I can't read anything. I just can't read anything. Look at this. So it's just, if you have any sort of background and any sort of background that is not like a solid thing or an ombre gradient, it's just so hard to read. And I think it's most visible in the Messages app and in the Music app, because in the Music app, there's like this little bar at the bottom. And if you're trying to read the name of the song that's playing, but the album art is in the background, you can't see shit. It's just, how am I supposed to read this? How am I supposed to do anything about this? And in the Messages app, if you don't like make the button outline something that you toggle on in the accessibility setting, it just blends into everything. And then, you know, I have garbage eyes, so I just can't see anything and I can't read anything.
And I don't want to
just
shame
get
you
angry.
here, but that font is already blown up. That's not
font-
a small font.
It's not a small font.
It's not a small,
I have the big phone to blow up my font as large as it can. Like if you're in studio, you could sit over there and you could read all my messages. I got nothing to hide. But like I need that so that I can read, and it's just so, I had to turn on all the accessibility settings, which turns down the transparency, in which case there's no point in me having liquid glass on my phone.
Does that get it to a usable place?
It gets it to a usable place because it's much frostier. It's no longer liquid glass, it's frosted glass.
Well, okay, but they've been changing it over the course of the betas, right? Like they made it like more frosted, and now I think in the most recent one it's glassier again.
It's glassier again. I was like,
Has it gotten better for you?
No. Not. Well, there's like this new kind of effect where when you bring up the notifications, it darkens a little bit.
Okay.
So then you can see it slightly better. I saw it and I was like, listen, I already have my text blown up. Blown up so that everyone can read it from Jupiter. Like, just help a girl. Help a girl out. Help a very, very blind as a bat girl out. Like I just can't read it that well. It's all right when I talk to people who are also tech nerds, and so like our old merchandising guy, Parker, I chat with him every once in a while, and he like, as soon as he's like, oh, you got the beta? Okay. I put a wallpaper up in our chat, and like, so there's like a wallpaper in our messages chat, and like it changes the readability of it so that I can read it a bit better. And, you know, in that one chat, everything is fine. But all of my other friends and my family is just like, oh, good Lord.
It's very funny that you have to optimize around it.
Yeah, you really do.
Antonio, is it like as extreme on the Mac?
No, I feel bad actually that it's that bad on the phone, and I'm not looking for it. So I kind of held off on installing it on my phone this time because I had a pretty bad experience last year with when Sequoia was in the developer preview, absolutely wrecking my phone. But on the Mac side, it's kind of fine. It's like I don't really particularly like it. I mean, I called it a bit of a snoozer in my write up on it, but it's just whatever, because there's so much more room on a bigger display that it's just kind of innocuous. It's like, okay, every time I look at like another MacBook Air that I have on the side that I was still on Sequoia, and I was looking 1-to-1, I'm like, I just like that better. I think that looks cleaner and nicer. But then, you know, once you stare at liquid glass long enough, especially on a 13-inch, 15-inch screen, a laptop, or, you know, a big monitor like I'm looking at right now, it's kind of whatever, because it's kind of tucked away. You know, it's in corners. It's in, you know, they move the widgets over to the desktop. You can still undo that, but it's on the desktop, and it's like it's in the top left corner. Your menu bar is, well, it's invisible now. You can undo that too. The dock is tucked to the bottom, and you know, Control Center is. I don't use Control Center. So on a Mac, yeah,
I do use it.
What's the point?
I'm shortcuts. Like they added little shortcuts in there that I was like, oh, I can screen record a little easier. That's nice. But I did get really angry because they changed the little icons in the Control Center for Bluetooth, and all of a sudden I couldn't access my Bluetooth devices easily, and I was just like, this is obscene. And then I went to edit, and I was like, oh, I could just put that back. That's fine. So, yeah.
See, but that's the advantage of a desktop operating system, and why usually these things are like not such a big deal, because there's so many different ways you can do all of this stuff, right? I have like in the top right of my corner, I can go to Control Center, but I have another Bluetooth like drop down menu with one click that actually has more controls. And you know, the widgets are on the desktop now, but you still have the option to push them back to the old way. So, you know, that's the thing, is I think like with an iPhone, iOS, iPadOS, like those kinds of smaller screens and touch interfaces, you're limited in the way you have to use it. When when Jay Peters first posted that picture of when the developer beta launched day one, and it was a control center swipe down on his iPhone, that screenshot like horrified me. I thought it was just so like hard to parse, and it was just so busy. And I'm like, okay, the Windows Vista jokes and memes are true. There's something to that. Like Microsoft can go ahead and try to own them like they tried. But on a Mac, it's like, it's fine. I don't like it, but I can kind of ignore it and just, it's just, I think the usual way of these changes is that we'll kind of just get used to them. It's like, it's kind of a war of attrition. I think eventually we just adjust.
Absolutely not. I will hate this forever.
Okay. Oh no, I'll still dislike it. I'll still look back at Sequoia and be like, that was better. Just the way a lot of us look back at freaking Snow Leopard. Like that was really great. But I just think that like, you just kind of get used to it. Again, on a desktop OS especially.
On a desktop, to your point, like the larger screen, I think gives you more space to deal with the horrible transparency of it. It's not necessarily going to be as bad, especially if you have multiple monitors, which many of us nerds do. Also on an even smaller screen than a phone, if you have Apple Watch, like you can see a little bit of the liquid glass and the numbers there, or like in the passcode, it's so not noticeable that I don't care that it's on the watch at all. But on my phone, a device that I am on far too often every day, that has a ton of information, and that, what I realized from this experience is that like I'm using it to primarily read. Like I'm reading my notifications, I'm reading my messages, I'm reading the Verge.com every day. And, when you're going through things, when notifications pop up, it's just a mess.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I think another point of this is system UI is just so much more prevalent on a phone versus on a laptop or a Mac, like Antonio is saying. And so it's interesting because like Liquid Glass doesn't really get spread throughout third-party apps. Like it's in the music app and you're like, this is really annoying and ugly. Yeah. But like if you're using Chrome on the desktop, I don't know, like in full screen, like where is Liquid Glass? It's nowhere. Whereas on the iPhone, you like cannot avoid it.
You can't.
So, okay, here's my feeling. It's a little chaotic and I love it and I want more chaos in our lives. I think we should embrace like a slightly unpolished, imperfect, messy design.
Jake, I feel like you're chaotic evil on the D&D chart with that take.
Is it a little hard to read? Absolutely. Is it like maybe a little, not the most cutting edge thing, right? Is it something that like Windows did with Arrow like a decade or more ago? Yeah, of course. Like, is this going to look dated at some point very soon? Like, probably. But you know what? Go for it. I like it. It's weird. It's cool. I remember when iOS 7 came out, they were just like, right, like pedal to the ground, right? They're like, we're going all the way. It's going to be ridiculous. I was looking at old beta 1 for iOS 7, there are some buttons and it's like, it says like swipe. And I'm like, I don't even know where to swipe. Like, it's just like, there's no button on it. It's just like just a big thing that says swipe. And it's like, I don't know what to do with this, but it's like, it's opinionated. And I kind of love these like immediate post redesign moments where you're like, this is a mess. It's not perfect, but like they're trying something. And this is sort of like the purest version of the idea. And it's a problem because like this is going out to millions of people and it has to work for all of them. And so like you can't have major accessibility problems, which like making everything transparent.
It's a major accessibility issue.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I want a little like you're showing me these things and it's like, I can't really read this. And I'm like, yeah, man, like scroll around a little bit. Keep on swiping. Eventually you'll be able to read it.
Is it opinionated though, or is it just more on the chaotic side? I can't like, I know I probably shouldn't like theorize or like conspiracy theorize, but to me, it just feels like they are like Apple, they being the designers, like, but Apple as a whole is kind of just trying to distract from, I can't shake this feeling that they're trying to distract from like, oh, don't mind how Apple Intelligence is kind of meh, and ignore that, that new Siri we talked about and even had an advertisement featuring a celebrity and paid a lot of money for that. Forget about that liquid glass. It's just, and then they're just they're trying to fine tune it. This is just speculation, but I just feel like they are like going a little seat of their pants here. Whereas I think iOS 7, it had something to say. It was initially a little off the mark, and they course corrected and they tweaked what they had to say. Here, I feel like they're just like tweaking for like, we got to make this work. We got to jam this round peg into a square hole.
Well, like the other thing is that liquid glass originates from famously the most successful Apple hardware of all time, the Vision Pro. And so, like, when you have liquid glass on the Vision Pro, it makes sense. You are in a mixed reality headset. You need to see through the menu to see what's around you. I know, I understand that most people have not had the horror or the pleasure or the privilege of wearing this gigantic, very heavy headset on their face and looking around. Like, it makes sense in Vision OS because you need to see through the menu. I do not need to see through the menu on my phone. I need there to be a frosted glass there so that like there is contrast and I can read things because there are many things on top of each other. Like, I don't need to see through my phone. Like, maybe if I am going to put my tinfoil conspiracy hat on, maybe, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I would like to see this carefully curated, picked iPhone wallpaper that I chose for my home screen. I can't really see it most of the time. Maybe that's the thought behind liquid glass and the transparency. Having experienced the chaos, no, I was wrong. I was wrong. I should have a much more boring home wallpaper and a fancy lock screen and leave it at that because for me, readability is the most important thing. I at least appreciate that I can turn some of this off in the accessibility settings, but I wish it was easier to find in the accessibility settings because you got to go, you'd think there'd be like a liquid glass settings menu so you could adjust. You can't. You have to go through the accessibility settings and then guess which one.
I think they need the opposite of an accessibility menu. There needs to be an option to just ramp it way up. Everything is see-through, like weird twisted warping glass effects everywhere. That's what I want from this.
In a way, they almost do in that. So one other thing that came to the Mac for this is the appearance and theming options that were last year, I believe, on the iPhone, right? So you can make your widgets, your icons, all like tinted colors. You have dark mode, and I put, so check out the write up I did on it. I put a bunch of comparison screenshots showing what it looks like in all these different coats of paint. And you can pick dark mode, light mode as of the whole OS. You can have like your widgets be default, dark, and tinted, and then tinted can be light or dark, right? Talk about chaos. It's a little confusing. And when you put everything on clear, it's like, yeah, there's glassy icons everywhere. And some stuff just looks ugly. Like, I think that Apple could solve this a bit by, or at least remedy this by just giving you some shortcut theming options within liquid glass in the appearance menu. I think if they like made it where it's like this here, like click this and you get this nice little combination that's going to magnify the liquid glass effect or tone it down. And in there should maybe even just be an off. And that could activate, some of the accessibility features because I think if you turn off, there's an accessibility option called reduce transparency. And if you activate that,
it's great.
That kills it's great, but it kills so much of the look. Like that was initially the only way. Yes, but again, we're talking on the Mac side where it's like, it's passable maybe, but if in the first developer beta, that was the reduced transparency accessibility option was the only way you could have your menu bar filled in again, right? So the menu bar is the top band at the top of macOS, where your file, edit, view, history, all that stuff is, and your icons on the top right. And that's also where on a MacBook or modern MacBooks, that's where the notch is, right? So they were hiding the notch by having that filled in with a background. They turned the menu bar invisible, fully invisible, which now kind of accentuates the notch. It's not that big of a deal, really. Again, I noticed it for like a half hour, and I'm like, all right, whatever, it's fine. And now I'm like, now they didn't backtrack, but they gave the option to fill that in again, kind of the old way, or you go with the new default. The new default's invisible. Before you had to do the reduced transparency, but it would kill like everything just to get your menu bar back. So in that same way, I think they could just add in some options and some presets. And I hate that I'm kind of in a way like thinking I'm actually envisioning like the Windows 11
Oh my
theme
God.
menu, which I know don't want to really, say, harken over to Microsoft where they're the bastion of no. But I just think that they could, with a little more direction, because like they have these pretty, screenshots or samples on when they announced Liquid Glass and announced the update that show, this cool like monotone, color combo, very aesthetic options. You can change your folder icon colors too and tint everything. It's really hard to make that look good. If you put the time into it, sure, you can make something maybe kind of cool or interesting and different. I just think they could guide people a little more with some fun presets or something. And yeah, let's turn an option to turn the glass up, turn the glass down.
That feels real. Like, I actually think that it's kind of surprising to me, but if you look at iOS versus Android, in a lot of ways, iOS has gotten way more customizable in terms of letting users change the look of it. At least the average user, right? You can go crazy on Android if you really want to. But, I think iOS by default has way more theming options than my Pixel does. But the Pixel does try to do that thing where it picks out a few colors for you to make things a little bit easier. It just isn't as enforced across the operating system as Apple has it. We should talk more about the Mac, though, because I do think the Mac had some of the biggest changes in this release of operating systems, right? It obviously Liquid Glass is the most notable one, but there's some like pretty big upgrades to Spotlight in particular that I think power users are pretty excited by, or maybe like pissed about because it's like just duplicating what a lot of them are using Raycast for.
Yeah, like
Are either of you Raycast people?
I was an Alfred person.
Alfred,
which is not
old
as
school.
like real old school. So I know Raycast is better, but like I kind of got rid of Alfred after a while, and using Spotlight, it's fine. It's not. It's okay. Like I haven't really felt super engaged by it. Like I've tried to use it a couple times, and I'm like, I don't understand what. I'll just go back to this later, and then you don't go back to it because ADHD.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there. It can be useful. I don't know, Antonio. Like how have you found it?
Yeah, so I think the Spotlight changes are actually, in general, all positive. They're welcome changes. I was not a Raycast user. I knew I knew of Raycast, but I just never used Spotlight that much, so I never thought I had much interest in it. But now I think the new changes to Spotlight act as a nice on-ramp into that, whether you want to go into that world of crazy button combos for all kinds of stuff you can shortcut. But it's Raycast Lite, basically, and it makes sense for it to be more approachable. If you go with like the keyboard commands, you can build this new muscle memory to do things faster. On a Windows machine, I hit the Windows key and start typing in an app and quickly open it, and I'm kind of used to that. You can always you've been able to for a while, like use Spotlight in the same way, but now you can do a little further with it. The biggest thing for me is a clipboard history, right? You can actually, for like the shortcut is you get Command and space and then just Command and number 4, and boom, you've got clipboard history, and it's for the last about 8 hours that you can recopy anything that you copied before. It could be a file, or it could be just a little snippet of text. It's smart enough to know that if you copied like a password in a password field, it won't populate that. But if you copied that password out of plain text, I tested this just to make sure. You should not do it to put passwords in plain text, obviously. But then it won't know, and it doesn't like cross-reference it to your passwords. So yeah, it'll just be there. But that's why it's only an 8-hour limit. On Raycast, again, for those power users, you can have a clipboard history that's like months long,
Jesus,
if you want to, and you can like pin things. So like if you, I don't know, like always send a canned message to people or something like that, or like are putting like, I don't know, your address to your shipping address to people pretty often or something like that, you can pin it there and you just have it ready to go. That leads to all kinds of, or it can lead to all kinds of privacy concerns. Then again, if someone's on your laptop and it's unlocked, they probably have access to all kinds of things. But no, I think overall the Spotlight changes are nice. I mean, you can go a little deeper. You can use it with shortcuts and like tap into certain Apple Intelligence actions as well. That's again like a little more extra power user stuff. I've never been like a shortcuts sicko. Like the people that I've seen that are using it they're really into it, and I think that's just going to help them if they're not already in that like Raycast. There are other options too, but like I'm just using that as one example. But if they're already in that world, like they maybe just don't even need this integration. But overall, I think the Spotlight changes are nice. I think I want to see Apple grow this and make it better slowly and make it where that's a more approachable on ramp. And yeah, there's gonna be those guardrails like that 8-hour time limit. I wouldn't mind them raising that a little bit, maybe 18 hours, 24 hours. But yeah, I think overall Spotlight good.
I've bounced off Alfred and Raycast probably 100 times. Like right, like they feel like they should be for me. Like in my browser, I have all kinds of quick search commands to like quickly search like The Verge or Wikipedia or all kinds of other websites. I find them like I could not live without them, right? But the idea of having like one toolbar that shortcuts across my PC, like I don't know. It's honestly so much of my computing is just in my browser that I don't quite understand what the use is. I just like haven't been able to tap into it. And I am sort of hoping that maybe these Spotlight changes, give me a little bit more of that power without all the complexity. Again, those apps seem great, but
it just requires you to rewire your brain.
Yes.
And the older I get, the harder that is. Like the harder it is, the more time it takes. And I just go like, what was that command that I just programmed 3 hours ago again? And I will forget because I'm switching to a different platform and a different system. So I think we sometimes have a rarefied problem. But if you're using the same system and you're using the same programs, like I think it's a little more lending itself to that.
Well, and I also think those like sort of different, when you're using something that has such a different way of interacting with it, it just like takes a minute.
Mhm.
I use Arc browser every single day now, and I like could not be organized without it. I also bounced off of it like 5 times, and when I first used it, I'm like, no serious person can use this browser, right? Like this is for people who do not do work, which I don't know. Listen, come at me, but it is one of those things where it's like, actually, maybe you just do need a little bit of an on-ramp. Like, so perhaps it does not sound like this is the death of Raycast by any means. And if anything, It sounds like this is like maybe teeing people up to understand that there's more potential there. That feels like it was probably like the single biggest thing. I think there's the Games app. I don't know if anybody's using that. There's a new phone app on the Mac.
Okay, the phone app.
Are you hyped for the phone app?
Okay. It's so stupid, and I'm like showing like the most suburban dad energy right now, but like it was stupid how super helpful it is to just like make calls to doctor's offices and like my town about like some documentation I had to submit or whatever. It was like it just helped me a little bit to be like, I could just do that right now, like while I'm working and kind of multitask that, as opposed to usually I'm terrible about making those annoying calls. And it's like, I put it off and next thing I know, it's 5:00 and all those kinds of places are closed. So it's not a big deal really, but yeah, the phone app, it operates just like the iOS phone app. It's totally fine and it's just effective. And even just like while I'm typing and just doing other stuff, just to like summon it up and make a quick call, and I'm not even like putting on headphones, earbuds, anything. I'm just talking to my laptop, and like does a good job handling the sound, not having echoes. No one's ever complained about, like, can't hear you. They're perfectly clear. So yeah, phone app seems so innocuous, but it's good.
I mean, legitimately, why didn't they have this forever, right? Like this is like it's like not exciting, but it is so functional.
They had FaceTime for a while, but like FaceTime, I don't know. I've always had problems switching FaceTime calls from my phone to my watch to my Mac. So I'm happy to hear that the phone app isn't as bad as that. So yeah.
And you can even listen to your voicemails on it too. Again, I think it's for people. This again is one of those things, like if it's for people like us, where it's like if you're on a computer all day, it's just kind of handy to have that stuff right there without having to stop what you're doing and pick up your phone to do something on the side, which just leads to other distractions. And I welcome the phone app. The Games app is just
I don't know why. I don't know why it exists.
It's there. It lets you look at the games that you play, and then you think about how you spend your time, which I spend a lot of time in the Sudoku app, apparently. So
it's kind of on a Mac, on macOS, the Games app, it was pulling games I downloaded from Steam, but it was hit or miss. Like you could almost use it as a launcher for all of your games, but how many games do you play on your Mac? Unfortunately, it's just, come on. They're
They're going to make gaming happen on the Mac. They're going to make it happen. Ray tracing.
It's so aspirational.
I want them to. I genuinely want them to. Like when I reviewed the most recent like M4 Max MacBook Pro, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I have to say, like, the elephant in the room is like, it would be so nice for someone who's like creative, like people I work with, like photographers I work with that buy these kinds of like heavy duty Macs for like a Mac Studio or a MacBook Pro, like they would like to actually play games on them. And it's like, but ultimately, like it's just still not enough. If Apple could really get their stuff together with like a Proton layer like setup, like I know they have their game toolkit, but it's not the porting toolkit, but it's not fully there. Obviously, you need developers to sign on, but like I don't know, man, just try with more developers than like Hideo Kojima and like Capcom, and I guess now CD Projekt Red. Again, cool. Cyberpunk on the Mac, cool. But again, so the games app is just
it's rough when Nintendo beats you to Cyberpunk. That could not have foreseen that. Okay, V, I want to make sure I ask you about watchOS 26.
Yeah.
There's a new fitness coach. What is this?
So, Apple Intelligence, right? At DubDub, they were just like, it's on our ecosystem of devices. Because, Watch got left out last year. Didn't have Apple Intelligence on the Watch last year. Now they're like, yo, Apple Intelligence is on the Watch this year in Workout Buddy.
I don't know if that's like a threat or an upgrade.
It's a thing.
It is, yes.
It is a thing. So like in the keynote and the sizzle reel for Workout Buddy, you see this woman and she's running and the Workout Buddy's just like, nice, crushed the pace. And the thing that happened to my phone in real time while I was in that watching the keynote was people going like, am I going to hate this? Am I going to hate what's going on? Am I going to get yelled at by an AI? You're not going to get yelled at by an AI. It's actually kind of like not really there for a lot of workouts. It's so the thing that's
is this like Spotify's AI DJ where every once in a while it's just like, yo, V, good pace. Really?
Kind of,
and you're like, I didn't need this, but
yeah, it's kind of like that. So basically, the AI elements of it, you do need to have an iPhone that is capable of Apple Intelligence, which is why I needed 2 iPhones to basically test this beta.
V came into the office today, and she's like, Got a light day, only 2 phones on me.
Only 2 phones
and only
on me?
2 watches on you.
Only 2 watches on me. Well, there's only 1 for each wrist, but I have been carrying around 3 phones for the last couple of weeks like a psycho because I need it. My main iPhone is a 14 Pro Max, does not have the Apple Intelligence features. Therefore, I could not test Workout Buddy on the watch that was paired to that. I needed my iPhone 16, which was paired to a different Apple Watch just to test Workout Buddy. So that's my dedication to all of you. But Workout Buddy basically has 3 voices that are trained on the Apple Fitness Plus trainer's voices. So you can choose your version of Peppy, a Peppy voice in your ear. And then when you go on an equivalent, or like not an equivalent, when you go on an eligible workout, you're going to get a little summary at the beginning where it's just like, hey, V, you're about to go on an outdoor walk. That's great. Love that for you. You are kind of ahead where you would be at this time of day for your rings in terms of closing it. Go and crush it. And then depending on the workout that you're doing, you may get motivational tidbits in the actual workout itself. So if you're going on a walk, you ain't gonna hear shit. But if you're on a run at the mile pace, it's like, you crushed that mile and insert pace here. You were listening to Stray Kids when that happened. Love that for you. Keep going. And then if you hit a PR or a milestone, like that was your 100th mile of the year. Love that for you. And that happens. And then at the end of the workout, you basically get you did great. You totally closed your ring, and I love this for you. And that's Workout Buddy.
This feels like upbeat and pleasant, but not helpful. Is that like
it's okay.
This is exactly how I feel about Spotify DJ, where I'm like, I don't know why this AI voice is talking to me. This is just a playlist, but it's actually there's less music. But okay, it's fun. It's fun. I'm like, I did just listen to that song.
Yeah, no, Apple told me that the idea was to bring more delight and motivation into the workouts.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, working out kind of sucks. Like
Honestly,
it just does.
Listen, I've never wanted an AI therapist, but while I'm working out is the time. I'm never happy when I'm working out, and if somebody could work through that with me, I think that might.
It's not the worst thing in the world. It can be a little chatty. You do have the option to turn it off. Is it better than other, workout apps that have had voices like telling you to pick up the pace or to do whatever? Not particularly, but it does have more of your historical data. What I wish it would do was it'd be like, hey, you're going pretty fast on this first mile that you have planned out right now. It is 86 degrees out with 92% humidity. Slow down, girl. You're fine. Like, that's what I would love
Yes.
from that. And it's not an AI chatbot. It's not any of that sort of thing. So
this is the thing. It's just it's like not even V1. It's like V0, right? None of them actually have the data yet to sell you the smart thing.
Yeah, or like the really smart thing. It's just like one or like 1.5 turns short of where I would like really find it helpful and useful. But as far as like a motivational thing goes, it's fine.
Can you talk to it? Like, can you talk back to it?
No, you can't talk back to it.
Okay.
So like that's kind of like the disconnect where, like, is it actually AI? Well, yes, but not in the way that you're probably thinking, but pretty on par for where fitness AI is in general at this point. But they like marketed this as the big marquee thing of watchOS 26. What I think the real star of watchOS 26 is the wrist flick and or the flippy flip, because we have the pinchy pinch, coined by the Verge, Dan Seifert, for the double tap, which is the gesture that lets you just like go through the widget menus. If wake up, there we go in this watch, wake up. So you can double pinch and you can go through all that stuff. Now you have the flippy flip or the wrist flick where you just dismiss stuff. So if you have notifications that come in and you're just busy, you can just go like that and it'll dismiss it for you. So you can.
That's actually like legitimately huge. So like with a software update, like add like an entire new like button effectively. Like that's
great
because
you're out and about. You got stuff going on. And you're like, I can't take this. Boop, it's gone. You're like, whoo, love that. And then the other thing is the Smart Stack now has a little icon. So the Smart Stack is like, I bring up this little widget menu. There's all these widgets. It'll surface the most relevant thing to you in that moment. And there's a little icon. So when I was taking a picture for the thing, it was like a little icon of my camera. So I could bring up the remote, the camera remote on this thing.
And can I tell you something?
That's great.
I think liquid glass looks all right on the watch.
It does. It's fine on the watch. It's on the phone.
Because again, you don't notice it. Yeah, it's just so discreet.
It's so interesting because liquid glass is like the big splashy feature that everybody's paying attention to. But there are so many actual like powerful functional updates. And the one we haven't talked about yet is on the iPad, where you can now have free floating windows, right? It's not the weird stage manager thing anymore, where Apple will control the windows for you, which I think is like very delightful that they spent years building this alternate multitasking system, because they're like, the people can't handle Windows. Windows are too much for them. We have to control the windows for them. And finally, they're just like, all right, let's see what happens. Let's go crazy.
It's great.
And there's a mouse pointer on the iPad now. Before they were like, you can have a circle. You can like mouse that doesn't exist. A pointer? No.
I think it's, because it's really funny because this is the thing that everyone has wanted for iPad to be more like a Mac, because of, there's always someone who's like, oh, I want to use my iPad as a Mac because I don't actually want to buy a Mac because money and price points and whatever reason. And they finally gave it to us. And I was just like, I still don't know if this is going to work, but I love that it's there.
The thing that drives me crazy is I think that Apple's like hardware innovation has leaned so heavily on the iPhone, iPad side of the house, and the Mac has lagged behind in some ways. Not talking about the processors, but like the like functional extra features, right? If you look at the iPad Pro, right, you've got this great front-facing camera, you've got Face ID, you've got all these rear cameras with LiDAR. I don't even want this. And I think the operating system is just very lovely to use in a lot of ways. It has a touch screen, but the problem is that the iPad software has not allowed you to use it like a laptop, right? So every time that I'm looking and saying, I need to buy a new main computer, it's always going to be a Mac for me, right? Because it just can do things in a regular way for all tasks. And the iPad is like maybe finally getting there. And we'll see, right? There are still limitations. It's funny, I like plugged my iPad into my monitor/dock last night. And it's like, oh, the wireless mouse doesn't work because it's docked through the monitor. And it's like, look, these are like, minor extraneous things, right? But, the iPad is finally getting background tasks. It finally has windowing. And it's like, okay, maybe I can actually use this as a computer. And it's really nice to see the power of the Mac increasingly coming to the iPad so that you have an option if you are somebody who, like me, is like a big hardware nerd and like wants to get all the cool features.
Give the people what they want. That's just what they should do. And the people have been wanting this for iPadOS for ages at this point. So, yay.
Give them windowing on an iPad and give them a touchscreen Mac. And then people will be, the buttons for years, the buttons on the Mac have gotten more and more touch friendly, and Liquid Glass is just even furthering that. Again, look at that control center on Tahoe. This could maybe they're just very, very slowly converging
into a circle.
Yeah,
and people will be happy.
Antonio,
it'll take 10 more years probably, but maybe.
It's so funny. Todd Hazelton wrote for our website about iPadOS 26 beta, and he talks about the stoplight buttons in the corner. And he's like, yeah, when my finger gets close to the tiny button on the iPad, it just gets bigger and then I can touch it. And he's like, Apple has no excuses to not just put a touchscreen on the Mac. Like they solved it. It's easy. It's doable. They figured it out. Like, let's make it happen.
Give the people what they want. Give them what they want.
We'll get there. We'll get there someday. All right, we've got to take a break. Antonio, thanks for joining us for this segment. When we get back, we'll have Verge transportation editor Andy Hawkins and Eater LA's Matthew Kang to join us to talk about Elon Musk starting a restaurant. He started a restaurant.
Sure.
We'll be back. All right, we're back. We've got some new people in the studio. Joining me in V is Verge transportation editor Andy Hawkins.
Hello.
And joining us from LA, Eater's lead editor for Southern California, Matthew Kang.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited to talk about this. This is sort of a surprising one, right? So Tesla, it's had a weird week, right? They just had their largest revenue drop in years, which is not like great news to share.
No.
And the same week, they announced that they opened a restaurant, which is like maybe not what their investors are asking for, maybe not what their customers are asking for, but is more positive news. I guess, Andy, like, what is the state of Tesla? Because I feel like it has been very frantic since Musk stopped doing Doge and went back to work, right? There's been the robo-taxi, there's the diner now. Yes, but how are things over there?
It's been a crazy half year for this company. But no, yeah, the diner announcement was very interestingly timed, I want to say. I feel like it opened at right before this earnings. I don't want to suggest that it was strategically done this way, but it certainly seems to have been intended to kind of overshadow the incredibly bad news in this earnings report, right? You have this shiny new diner that's opening up, and I can't wait to hear what Matthew has to say about it. But it's just the timing right on the heels, right before this horrible earnings report, just seems really convenient. is all I'll say to start out with. But yeah, no. Terrible earnings report, third consecutive drop in revenue and earnings and sales, and it's getting worse.
Why
worse.
are they falling apart? Because I thought these cars are wildly popular.
Jake.
No, they're not.
They are not. I have a car guy for a spouse, and they are not well put together.
That's a whole.
That's a whole other issue.
That's a whole. The quality of Tesla's vehicles has been a long, simmering problem for that. But the problems the company is currently facing have everything to do with sort of the Elon of it all, as we like to say on staff, right? He came out in support of Trump last year. He spent $300 million to get him elected. Then he took over Doge and he made some fascist hand gestures, and everything that's been going on up until this point. And then we saw the Tesla takedown protests, and sort of a very concerted effort by people who are very, concerned about the direction this country is going in, and they decided to organize around protesting Tesla, boycotting, trying to basically make the brand toxic. And I would say that they have been successful in that, as we've seen in these earnings. So Tesla right now, they're in what's called double digit territory, where they are down, the revenue's down double digits, their profits are down double digits, and their sales are down double digits. And that's just not a good place to be for a company like that.
This is really nerdy, but there's this thing in your story that you kept talking about where they have this regulatory credits problem that like seems to be sort of one of Elon's own making too, which is, can you tell me, like, what are these credits and what is about to fall apart here?
Yeah, the credit situation is really fascinating because it's really an under-discussed aspect of Tesla's success over the years. So we have, in the United States, something called the CAFE standards, where automakers need to meet a certain threshold for emissions sort of across their fleet, right? And so the idea is that, if you increase emission standards, cars use less gasoline, emit less carbon emissions, less pollution, and we're better off as a society. And so for many, many years, Tesla, as an exclusively electric vehicle company, has no emissions across its fleet. So they were earning these, they were able to sell these credits that they were earning from the government to other automakers that have more of a mix of gas-burning vehicles and electric vehicles, mostly gas-burning vehicles. So they would sell their credits to companies like Ford and GM and Dodge and Chrysler and all these other ones. And that was a huge, huge, huge source of revenue for the company. One that has not, you think of Tesla as a successful company based solely on the fact that they make these electric cars that people like. Well, actually, they, I think for the past decade alone, have been earning around $11 billion from regulatory credit sales.
11 billion?
11 billion. And last year it was like $2.5 billion, which made up almost 50% of the company's overall net income or profit, essentially. So half of their profit came from the sale of these regulatory credits. That's about to go away because Donald Trump and the Republicans decided that this is not a good thing anymore and they're going to get rid of it.
It's just so rough where it really does feel like so much of Tesla's challenge right now is of Elon's own making, right? He made cars that people like, and then he made people not, at least he made the people who really like electric cars, right? A good chunk of that segment not like him. And then he helped elect the people who are going to get rid of the money flowing to environmental causes. And so, now he's just got to be an automaker and compete on that. And like
it really cannot be underemphasized the amount of a faceplant that this is for. Like, this is a historic level faceplant for a human being. Like, to spend $300 million to get one guy elected and have that guy come into office doing exactly what he said he was going to do during the campaign, which was eliminate all of these incentives and credits and all of these things, and have that be such a negative effect weighing down your own company. And that is the primary source of his wealth, popularity, his status, his reputation. SpaceX and whatnot, but Tesla is really like, that's the money bags for him. So
I will say, like, the one thing that you can't knock Elon for is his ability to do maybe like too many things at once. Not always to their full potential. The robotaxi rollout has started. But at the same time, right, this week he launched the Tesla Diner, which, Matthew, you actually went there. Matthew, can you give me like what is this diner? This is a real restaurant? Like, he's serious about this. It's not just some pop-up.
Oh no, this restaurant was sort of based on a diner model, like Car Hop, Sonic, that kind of thing. And he announced it, actually it was announced in like 2018. So back then, certainly we were like, oh, this restaurant is vaporware and we're never going to see it. And so 7 years later, they announced that he was partnering with a very competent restaurateur and a well-known LA chef. And it opened, basically surprise open. They didn't invite anyone in. They didn't do any like media, nothing. And so Monday morning, I schlepped out to Hollywood and beheld this 2-story kind of rounded, it looks like you're at Tomorrowland in Disneyland kind of a thing. And there's like robots serving popcorn and they have screens where you order. And at the end of the day, it's just like it's diner. Like they have burgers and fries and pie, shakes, like just kind of like just real normal food. It is shockingly basic, considering it's a Tesla product. There are also like 80 charging stations next to it. So I guess the idea is that it's going to be a model of an amenity for charging stations that could potentially open all around the world.
That's kind of the innovation here, is that, he has long talked about, the fact that charging stations in America, especially these supercharger stations, they're kind of like in the middle of nowhere often. They're in, big box store parking lots, or, along highways, and they're not real destinations. And I think what he was trying to go for with this is, you have to plug in your car, and usually it takes like 20 or 30 minutes for you to get like a decent amount of charge. Why not get something to eat? Why not, mingle with other Tesla owners? Like, the idea behind it seems pretty solid.
Actually a pretty good idea, because I went on a road trip in one of the fully electric BMWs around the holiday season, and trying to find a charger that would work got increasingly dicey.
Oh, yeah.
As we were going, it's just like,
tough.
oh, I guess we can go to this mall, and there was a line at the mall of all of these Teslas trying to get the thing, and it's like, well, we have 23% charge left on this BMW. Are we going to find? We got down to 7%. Yeah. We got down to 7% at a Wawa, and this Wawa had only one working charging station. So were we hungry by the time we got to the Wawa? Yeah. So I could see this working, but at the same time, no. Just big no.
I've done that. I've sat in the Walmart parking lot for a couple of hours while on a road trip, and it's like, it's not the most fun. It's not the most. It is, but like, this sort of makes sense, right? You can do this in LA. It feels hard to imagine this existing on the side of like the PA Turnpike.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, like, this is like a destination. It's so interesting. All the photos I've seen of the Tesla Dyna so far, every single parking spot has a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Which I can't tell if they just like parked them there, or if it's just every Cybertruck owner in LA, like an alarm went off and they're like, here, now, go.
They got notifications on their infotainment screen.
Well, there is, Matthew, you were telling me there is some like special feature where if you have a Tesla, you can like roll up and it will like auto order for you.
Not quite. So basically, probably in a car industry first, you could place your order on your car screen. It doesn't matter where you are. Like, I could be home. I live in Torrance, like 30 miles away from the restaurant. If I pull up the app, the Diner app on my screen, then it will look exactly like the screen that you would see in the restaurant, like to order food and drinks or whatever. And I think we're pretty used to ordering food that way now, because they want to get rid of staff at the counter to take your order. And all you need to do is put your order in, and I guess your payment stuff is already in there because of your charging. And when you cross like a geofence, as they've called it, it's like 0.6 miles, about 15 minutes. In LA, that could take forever, but 0.6 miles. Once you approach the diner, then they'll get a notification to like start making your food. And then once you, I guess, if you park in the lot and you start charging your car, you'll get an option like, hey, do you want to get your food in your car, or do you want to come in the restaurant? Something like that. It hasn't actually launched yet, or I don't think it works in the way that they've quite intended, but I think this feature was supposed to be one of the more important aspects of the diner.
That does like lend to the idea of like, this is sort of this amenity for charging, which is so interesting. I think like you hear there's a restaurant, you see these photos of like, the interior looks lovely, right? It looks like this, like,
It looks like a diner.
Retro futuristic.
And I guess like other non-Tesla EV owners can charge there if they have adapters, or if they have cars that have supercharger ports on them.
I refuse to have the adapter for
I don't think that some of these like menu features would work on the BMW, for example. But it does sort of speak to like this future that Tesla has imagined, where you can just do all these things seamlessly, and it's all integrated. All your information is right there. I do think that's, if it ends up actually working, would be a pretty cool thing.
Okay, but my big thing is, how was the food, Matthew? Because this is a diner.
That's the most important question.
Like restaurants, they sometimes you go to a restaurant for the vibe. I will not be going to a Tesla diner for the vibe. I will be there because I need to charge a car and I'm hungry. So of those two components, how is the food? Because I looked at the menu Epic bacon, $12.
It's like
Hot dog, $13. $13 for a hot dog in this economy.
I mean, I don't think first of all, the food, let me just preface all of this by saying you cannot imagine the amount of hatred and like negative feedback that I have gotten, like just covering this restaurant. Like people are so upset. And if you look at the Eater Instagram comments,
Oh my God.
there's an
Yeah.
incredible amount of, anger, just the fact that we're covering it. Like we should have just passed on it or something like that. But I mean, there were hundreds of people waiting in line for it to open. Some people waited hours. It's a 24/7 restaurant, so that you could, the birth of a new 24/7 restaurant in any big city is kind of a big deal now, given where, costs and labor are. So either way, like we were going to cover this restaurant. And of course we approached it with as much, knowing who Elon is and what he's done and everything that the company represents. At the end of the day, we're like, look, they hired Bill Chait, who is a prolific LA restaurateur. He's behind Republique and Bestia and Tartine, and he's very competent as an operator. I've known him for a while. And they hired Eric Greenspan, who's, I think claim to fame, he opened a grilled cheese restaurant like 10 years ago in LA, but he also was the chef behind a bunch of ghost kitchens like the Mr. Beast Burger. And he was like, when I saw Greenspan there, he was like, oh, this line's nothing. We served 10,000 people when Mr. Beast Burger opened. And I was kind of like, well, Mr. Beast Burger is kind of dead now. And Mr. Beast, the guy, like, is suing the company for... It just like it was a disaster, right? So I'm thinking, okay, is this going to be a disaster? We order the food, we take it upstairs, we paid for everything, no special treatment other than did get to kind of skip a few places in line to expedite our reporting. And honestly, the food is fine. It tastes like sort of slightly better than Shake Shack, slightly better than, regular fast food. It's probably better than Denny's. It's better than your like average roadside spot. And I think that's probably because, look, everyone's all hands on deck. It's the first day it's open. As we all know, restaurants are a tough thing to operate day in and day out, and especially 24/7. And so do I think it's going to maintain that quality 5-8 months from now, 2 years from now? I have no idea. And I'm very skeptical of that. But on day one, they were making good food. The burger was not amazing. It was kind of dry on the edges. The tuna melt was fantastic. We all loved it. It was like heavy in dill and like well toasted. They're all served in like these Cybertruck Happy Meal boxes that like clamshell open.
You just ruined it.
No.
That's like, I think that's kind of a negative. But they're going with the theme. Also, all the silverware or the utensils are like these wooden pieces that look like they're like chiseled out of a Cybertruck, frame or something. And
lost the opportunity
take
for
a
the
bite.
windshield wiper.
Like they're trying to reinvent utensils, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, not everything needs to be reinvented. But like, I think they have for breakfast, they have actual breakfast items. They had biscuits with red gravy, and the biscuits were fantastic. You have an organic egg. I got all the ingredients is another aspect. They say that they're sourcing everything within a Tesla range, like one single range of a Tesla car. So everything is sourced within like 300 miles, which, like there's something to be said about that. Like most diners probably cannot say that they source their items from, within 300 miles. And so that there's like this sliver of like sustainability and like, okay, good quality.
That sounds kind of
food.
woke to me.
It's that's why they minimize it. It's like buried on the bottom of the menu. But
the Epic Bacon is the headline. The heritage farm that it comes from is not mentioned as much.
I talked to Bill Chait, and he was like, Elon himself came in a week and a half ago and personally tried everything. He's like, if it's going to be on the menu, it has to be epic. Okay. And I was like, how do you make every single menu item epic? Like, how do you make like, a hot dog epic or a burger epic? But the epic logo is only on the bacon, and the bacon, well, I think it was a matter of preparation. It has the potential to be epic. It was certainly 4 thick slices of like well-smoked, like high quality bacon. Like it, just maybe that day it was off. But I think for $12, honestly, I would pay that.
That's $3 per piece of bacon.
But that's what food costs now. I don't know what you...
How did they prepare this bacon?
Epically.
Like food costs... it's not cheap to make, well-sourced food. And I think that they're doing a good job of presenting people with decent quality, like well-prepared food at a reasonable price. And what's interesting is they don't accept gratuities. Like the company is actually paying all the gratuities for service staff. So if you go there, like the level of service you get is incredibly nice. Like everyone's very jolly and happy and like attentive. And I don't know if that's because it's the first day again, or like if it's a thing that I think a seasoned restaurateur is like, hey, we're going to approach this professionally and as well done as possible.
You have to go back at 3 a.m. to see if it's still
Yeah,
the same
you gotta
level.
go there in the middle of the night to see if they'll still be happy. But at the end of the day, I think it is a bona fide restaurant. It is worth covering. It was worth, for us to go and see what it was like. Do I expect that I'll be there frequently? I don't think so. But I was honestly shocked by the number of quote unquote like Tesla fans that live in Los Angeles, that despite all of the Elon, hatred and vitriol, like I think people were there. They showed up and they were pretty happy. So, I mean, that's what
that
it
to
is.
me is kind of the key point, because I think Wired had a good story about this too, where they talked to some of these folks, and a lot of them were Tesla owners who didn't like Elon Musk. And it was kind of like getting to your point about how this is, the people that they typically used to sell to a lot for many years were coastal liberal types, progressives who, want to save the environment. And those people hate Elon Musk now. But it seems like they can, they're doing some sort of mental, sort of calculation to kind of separate these things. And, they can still be supportive of the brand or, still love their car while also still holding their, political opinions about him.
So my question is, right, like, you Matthew, you went, you had this nice experience. I think, right, a ton of people showed up. Can they scale this, right? Can you scale like a fancy diner chain that only goes to a couple of different, like, what is the end goal here?
I don't know if you're sourcing within a one charge range of a Tesla, right? Because there are some places, California has a lot of farms, but there are places out there where corn sweat is an issue
Oh,
in the Midwest, where temperatures are awful because the corn is raising the humidity. So, like, I don't know, like, if you're going to have the same gimmick across the entire nation, I don't know how
even just
doable that is.
charging infrastructure is hard. So, like, right, like getting the charging infrastructure and the food infrastructure and finding a place where it makes sense for Tesla owners or EV owners. I am curious, like, Matthew, like, do you get the sense that Bill Chait and the team over there are preparing to do more? Or are they like, we've got this one, we will see what happens?
That's a great question. I certainly have my doubts about that. Like how much can you replicate this? You're in the middle of Hollywood. There's all the resources, labor, demand for almost 100 charging stations. But like I've taken road trips. I actually own a Tesla. And I have taken it. I hate it as a road trip car because I have to charge all the time, and I've charged in the middle of the desert on the way to Vegas, just nothing to do. I wonder, okay, if they open one in Barstow, right? There's like 100 Tesla chargers in Barstow scattered about. It's the main city between LA and Las Vegas. I think they can source, depending on what their menu looks like. Is it going to be as ambitious as the Hollywood one with like 30 menu items? Maybe not. But if they have a burger and a hot dog and fries and shakes, what more do you really need? And can you do that? Look, there are gas station restaurants all around the country, and they serve basically reheated frozen pizza and hot dogs on those like steel rollers, and they make it work. And I think it's certainly possible. I think their intention is to open, I think many of them, opening a restaurant, as they probably realize, is very difficult given the regulatory situations of each place that you're doing it. But other countries are different. Like I don't know, like I just came back from South Korea. I didn't know this. You could open any restaurant in South Korea and in Seoul, and there's no permitting. You just like open. You just like build stuff, and then you open, and then you're open for business and you serve people. Like if they had that ease in other locations around the world, then they could probably open more of these diners and make them, these kind of like destinations. Restaurants are they're places that people talk about. You know, they're not like, it's kind of like the Apple Store, right? I mean, when the first couple Apple stores came out, they're like, oh, how many of these are going to open? And now they're ubiquitous, right? So it took a generation. I think these diners could be a place where it makes Tesla continue to be relevant and separates themselves from other car makers and you know, gives again a place for people to engage with the brand. And so I think it's actually smart, and I think it's interesting that they opened it in California, in Los Angeles, a place that obviously has very mixed feelings politically about its CEO. I'm like, why did they open in Texas? Why did they open in Florida or whatever? Like in places that might be more receptive. But I think they're also trying to make a statement by putting it in Hollywood, putting it in a major world city, and making a statement that way.
They're definitely going to attract protesters. I spoke to an organizer who has been, you know, part of the Tesla takedown movement, and he's, you know, they're planning on coming out this Saturday, and he says that the intention is to keep coming out. You know, they're going to keep at it. You know, their mission is to continue to protest the company. They don't care that he stepped away from Doge and yada yada yada. Their you know, their intention. They've been seeing success, obviously, in the earnings report. And I think that they want to continue that.
And something like a diner is so much more impactful in the moment. Like, there are customers who are trying to show up and have a pleasant meal.
Yeah.
And you are going to disrupt their ability to do good business.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to want to walk past them. Or,
it's hard not to see this also as maybe an attempt at some brand rehabilitation by Tesla, right? To like kind of say, you know, we're more than just the guy making the salute, you know, at Trump's inauguration. We're also, you know, we got these fun robots that are serving popcorn, and you know, we're going to Mars and all these other things.
They've got like a movie screen.
So the drive-in screens are gigantic, and they're right in front of an apartment buildings with balconies that have just had their views completely blocked. And I am so curious to hear what the people who live in these buildings think about this.
Free movies
From the back?
Okay, maybe not from the. Never mind. But you know.
I gotta know who's programming.
You gotta track down some of these people who live in these buildings and find out what they think, because I gotta know.
I mean, that was what I immediately thought about. I think that in most, first of all, you don't live in like Hollywood for quiet and comfort and like
That's
no
a good
light. You know, nobody is forcing you to live there. Granted, there are again ginormous billboard-sized screens pointing at your balcony now, and that's probably very annoying. I do think that I actually was trying to find out what time they turn off. There's probably like a mandated time.
Oh yeah, I think it's 11 p.m. They said.
Yeah, I think it's 11. That wasn't confirmed. I actually wrote that like kind of like, but it wasn't confirmed. I'm pretty sure that's like we don't have billboards going 24/7 here, unlike New York. So
New York City.
Yeah,
right.
baby.
Number one.
So it's certainly very annoying, and it's comical. I think when you go there, it would make sense to behold the whole facility like in the middle of the desert or in the middle of a cornfield or something. But like it's in the middle of Hollywood. There are a lot of buildings. It's just like jarring, because I'm like, why do they have to do these ginormous screens? So there's a little bit of it. I think the whole what I'm learning now is that I guess the project is Franz von Holzhausen.
Yeah,
kind
lead
of
designer of Tesla. Yeah,
he's a lead designer of Tesla, and like I think what I've been told now, and this is not confirmed, but like he lives in Los Angeles. The Tesla Design Center is based in Hawthorne in Los Angeles, and I think that's probably why the first location was here. It's really like, if you think about where the company split up, there's like production in Fremont in Northern California and offices and whatnot. That's kind of where they started, but then now they've like sort of moved the headquarters to Texas and to Austin. But like, I think at the end of the day, for this project, it's really a Tesla design project. It's like a way for them to like, it's like the flexing part of the company. It's not quite the nuts and bolts, like making batteries and boring stuff like that. This is the sexy thing. And so, yeah, I think it's an attention getter. And I think, yeah, people will protest it. There's ginormous screens, but I don't know. It's LA. Like, we're kind of like used to crazy stuff happening, and then we're going to move on and find out what else. I mean, think over like 6 months, people would be like, there it is.
Yeah,
you want to get a
exactly.
burger? You know.
If nothing else, Elon knows how to get attention, and the diner is certainly effective in that. Matthew, thank you for coming by. We've got to take a break. When we get back, Vee and Andy are going to take on the Thunder Round.
Ooh.
Stay tuned. All right, we're back with the Thunder Round. There it is. That's right. For those who have missed it, I am on a power trip with Nilay and David Gone. The lightning round, it's done. It's gone. I'm over it. That's so old news. Here's my problem with it. I don't know if you guys have listened to the Vergecast a lot.
Yeah,
I hope you have. That's very good. They never get through all the stories.
they
And
don't.
so I have given Eric Gomez, our producer, the power of thunder. He will, I don't know the term, rain it down upon us. It's not crashing.
He'll do a
It is-
Thor.
He
He'll
will.
do a Thor.
Yeah,
He-
the Thor
yes.
move, yeah.
There we go.
Mhm.
He channels Thor and tells us politely to move along. So this is what we're going to do. 5 stories, 5 minutes. He's going to, a little rolling thunder when we need to move along. And then it's going to crash down or something. We're still figuring this out. The Thunder Round, it's new and improved.
Gonna get
It will
thundered.
continue to improve as time goes on. All right. First story. Let's roll. Andy, it's over to you.
All right. So my first story is the return of Faraday Future, kind of. Faraday Future, a electric vehicle company that we've covered for a very long time. A company most associated with the term vaporware, I think you can say. They are one of those companies that, promised the moon, super fast electric vehicles and all of this, sort of like interlocking media and all these things, and it never really panned out. And they're back. They introduced a new vehicle called the FX. I'm sorry, the sub-brand. They have a new sub-brand called the FX. And this new vehicle is the FX Super One. And it's basically just like a luxury minivan, but it has something that's distinctive about it. It has a face. So instead of a grill, in place of a grill, there is a digital screen on the front of the vehicle that projects like an AI generated face. So you can put like a smiley face on there. You can put like,
I'm sorry, I scrolled past
hate
this
that
image
so
in your
much.
story, and I thought, I was like, oh, this is one of those things where like, they're like covering it up so we don't see what's but no, that's a screen.
No,
with
yeah, it's a
goofy-
legit screen,
Oh my God.
like a full-on display. Like we have to, get, our TV reviewers on this immediately because this is going to be the next big TV. I'm
Can you
assuming
can you watch like Top Gun on this?
you can watch Top Chef on it.
Oh my
Oh, no.
right in front of the minivan.
Obviously, this is a terrible idea because if you think about if you're driving a vehicle, what often happens is the front of your vehicle gets very dirty. It gets covered in bugs. It gets chipped. Pebbles and rocks and other things, fly up in the face of it. It's not something that you can ever really keep completely blemish free. So the idea of having a cracked screen with broken pixels all over it sounds insane to me.
It's called Front AI Communications Ecosystem Face.
Yeah, so this is also
God.
like another thing that Faraday Future is always very good at, which is giving things terrible brand names. So yeah, the FACE is an acronym that stands for Front AI Communication Ecosystem. And if you're a business, you can like project your logo on it. If you're an artist, you can project your illustrations on it. Again, I cannot stress this enough. This will never ship.
What happens if you get into a car crash too? When you
Yeah.
break your, can you
Well,
imagine how much that would cost?
It
to
does
replace?
it does a frown.
It does
right?
it does an ouchie
It goes-
face,
it
right?
goes-
There's gotta be like a little
Yeah. It tells you its pain level. It's like-
Oh God.
I have a question about. I thought minivans were like not cool anymore.
Well, so if you talk to like auto writers, they all love minivans. They feel like it's a very practical vehicle that has fallen out of favor
Mhm.
with the public, as our SUVs have become larger and more hulking and bigger, and sort of all those things. The minivan has been sort of like left to the side to molder. Like the Chrysler Pacifica is like the only like U.S. based minivan anymore. There's still like a few. There's like your Honda Odysseys and your Kia minivans, but for the most part, minivan sales have plunged.
So if you're a company that is swearing you're going to make a car and going to make money on that car, but you've never made a car, why are you going to minivan first?
It
Like,
really
what?
it boggles the mind, but that's been sort of like the theme with Faraday Future over
Mhm.
the years is that they don't do things that make sense. This is a company that has been in existence since 2014, has spent $3 billion to ship 12 cars.
Oh, that's a great return on investment.
It's all gone to like
Mm-hmm.
investors and like influencers. Basically, this is not a real company. It's if anything, it's just it's a way to like light a huge pile of cash on fire.
It's a grift. You know what? I respect it. I respect the grift.
We need more
respect
grifting
that.
in our
We need more.
minivan industry.
I do think if they are going to make up a car that they're not really going to ship, I think they could have thought bigger. I think not like physically bigger. The minivan is already quite large. I think they have a TV on the front, and that's where it ends, right?
Well, they have these little reclining chairs in the back with really poorly photoshopped bottle of wine, champagne glass. It's so poorly
I just learned that
photoshopped.
there are cars in China that can jump.
Oh yeah, the
Right?
BYD. The BYD.
Listen.
Yeah, that's
If you're gonna make a fake car, like promise me the moon.
China.
Don't-
Very very ahead of us in the
This
cars
is-
that jump race.
I will say, as soon
global
as
race.
jumping cars make it to the U.S., I'm never leaving my house.
I mean, we need those in New York. Of all the potholes, you need a car that can jump over the potholes.
I don't think Americans are responsible enough for this.
No.
I'm really sorry.
No.
I mean, I still, just as you like chaos with liquid glass,
Yeah.
I want chaos on the highways
You want
with jumping
road
cars. I
warrior.
want road.
You're full on. You're like ready to go Mad Max.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
What a beautiful
Full twisted
day.
metal.
Okay, Vee, you've got some news for us.
Yes, Amazon has bought BAI. And BAI is this wearable that I tested.
This
that
is
kind of
BEE, not
BEE.
okay. BEE,
Like buzz.
buzz
okay.
buzz. Like, so yeah, no, B by V. I wrote that review. It's basically like this little Fitbit type thing, and it listens to you always. And it's basically supposed to be your AI memory. And it wrote fan fiction about my life. It recorded some very embarrassing moments, like when I went and I had a particularly healthy bowel movement, and I looked back and I went, "Oh shit." And then it said, V said, "Oh shit," in this transcript, and it was making these like to-do lists. It was like truly dystopian.
Good God.
It learns so much about you that is incorrect and correct at the same time.
Mhm.
And now Amazon has bought it.
Okay, you've just instantly turned me off of everything about this. Like always listening, but on you, like what? No.
Yeah, this is
no.
like this new class
not.
of AI wearables where it's just like listening and will create transcriptions. And this takes it a bit further because the promise is that like, oh, that thing you said you were going to do that you forgot to do, it's in a to-do list that it created because it's listening to you all the time, all the time, all the time.
I feel like that's the thing that most people say that they don't want from their technology. Given the sort of the prominence of the various conspiracy theories about people's phones listening to them and how that makes people feel, like why would you actively buy something that does that?
Because I really do think there's a forgetful contingent among us and like people who want these like notes taken, but like this thing couldn't tell that I was not a Philadelphia school teacher working at Abbott Elementary. So it was telling me things like, get ready your classroom for the SEPTA strike. And those were just like things that were populating my to-do list. But, to your point, Amazon got into a bunch of trouble a number of years back because the Echo was listening to everything. And, like I've spoken with the people who've made Bee. They, like when I wrote my review, they were like, oh, privacy is at the forefront. And I'm just like, well, we don't know how much Amazon bought Bee for. But this is the first big tech company that's buying these always listening AI devices.
Yeah.
This is like a very confusing acquisition to me. I understand that there are a lot of tech companies looking at AI being like, we got to do an AI gadget. We got to do something. And it does seem like the current idea is just like, oh, I'll just listen to you all the time. So like, okay, I'll give that to them, even though I think it's not the right idea and seems unpleasant. But the hardware and the software of this fundamentally don't seem very good, right? Like Amazon could just make this themselves. Why do they need to buy this? It's just a little thing around your wrist with a microphone.
It's a little thing around, or you could wear it as like a clip. I wear it mostly as a pendant because I have limited wrist real estate at any given point in time. But yeah, I think it's just the concept of what they're doing. They're saying Alexa Plus is going to be agentic, and they call Bee something that's about to be agentic. there's like this aspect of you talking and it automatically adding things to a to-do list, which, I went on the New Jersey Transit bus and it was just like, you've got a patient in Louisiana that's about to die. Make sure to check in on them. And I was like, what?
No.
What the? Either someone was watching like a medical drama on this bus and I didn't hear it, or I just violated someone's HIPAA rights. I don't know. But
You're in the pit now.
My conspiracy hat theory is that this has something to do with Alexa Plus.
Amazon clearly wants to put Alexa on your wrist, right?
They've been trying to put it on your face, in your microwaves, in so many different ways. So I just feel like they're like, what if we put Alexa in it? And what if it's listening at all times and it can control your to-do list and then it can control your like shopping cart? So like it kind of makes sense to me, but it also makes me just go like, oh no.
It's coming for you.
Oh no. Vee by Vee in like 20 years is just going to be like Alexa writing fan fiction about my life and all the things that it misinterprets. Like you should have seen the transcripts it had when I was watching Severance. And I could not tell
honestly,
Severance from my life. And it was just like,
wait, so
the numbers are important and mysterious.
How does it even tell you? Like it doesn't have a speaker, right? You have to check another app.
Yeah, there's
This
a
doesn't
companion app and
feel
it
like
just
it.
collects all the stuff. It has like fact Tinder, so it'll learn stuff about you and you have to verify things.
Oh my god!
Yes.
You swipe whether it is accurately surveilling you.
Yes.
That's disturbing.
I got a lot of really funny fact Tinders, which you can check my Vee by Vee review, and you can see that it thought that I knew someone named Kendra Montisha because I was listening to the Kendrick album.
Well, okay, room for improvement.
Room for a
good
lot.
luck to Amazon with that one. And right under the.
We did it.
Right under the.
We did it.
Yeah, almost got there. Okay,
Take shelter.
I've got one for you. This week, Apple launched a new service called AppleCare One. Apple, I think, if you guys have been paying attention to their earnings, they love services. They love recurring revenue, right? And they're turning everything into
Who
a
doesn't
subscription.
among us?
I do. This is actually.
Love it.
We
have
what
our
is
own
a
subscription
job
service.
if not a recurring subscription?
Subscribe to the
Yeah,
Verge.com.
Yeah. So Apple's service, you pay $20 a month, and they'll offer extended warranty protection coverage for I think like any 3 of your Apple gadgets, and there's some restrictions. And it's
The max is 3.
Max is 3. You can add more for $6 each.
No.
And I think maybe the deal starts getting. So it's very interesting because some people, it's $20 flat. Some people, if you're the kind of person who wants a warranty, are going to make out. Do you know how much the warranty is on a Vision Pro if you're paying by month?
A lot.
It is $25. So you're immediately saving $5 a month and covering 2 other gadgets if you're a Vision Pro person. And listen, if you're a Vision Pro person who's
You
like
want that.
throwing this thing around town, okay.
Well,
okay.
you want it because like when I had my first Vision Pro demos, they were like, you have to pick it up a specific way because it
Oh my God.
attaches by magnets. Like the different the light seal is attached by magnets. So if you're not careful, and then that glass screen is gonna go, and then that's $3,500 down the
It's
hole.
rough.
But not if you're saving $5 on
it's-
this Apple One.
You still got to pay. The service fee. So okay, it is less of a deal if you're covering cheaper gadgets, right? If it's just your phone, your laptop, your AirPods, you're like maybe breaking even. Here's my question though: are either of you like extended warranty people? Because I'm always like I'm not taking it. Like
I didn't for a long time. And then Butterfingers V. McGee dropped her phone 3 phones in a row, cracked
Oh.
the screens, and I was like, oh no. And I tried to go, I'm like, fix screen, please. And they were like, no, you don't have a warranty. So for a number of years I did, but it has since expired.
See, that would do it. I'm always like, I'm gonna take this risk. Because with Apple in particular, like you gotta pay for the warranty and then you gotta pay for the service on top of that. And I'm like, I think I can gamble this.
I let my extended warranty expire. So when I went to replace the battery on my 14 Pro Max, I was like, free battery, please. And they're like, it's expired. So $100, please. I was like, oh.
I have a question about the warranties. As you know, we have these, right to repair. There's the right to repair movement, right? And there's states that are adopting laws around right to repair, and Apple and the other tech companies are pushing back against it. I'm curious to see if we get like sort of widespread right to repair approvals, maybe even like on a national level, like what that would mean for like a warranty or like long term. Because if you're suddenly you're like, you can like update your battery, you can like update your screen over the years, like, maybe that warranty becomes a lot more useful or a lot more valuable to have if you can like do these things to your phone that people typically haven't done.
Or I guess like alternatively, I wonder if those things are really effective, right? Like maybe you don't need it because you can actually go kind of anywhere to get a fix.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a third party or
Whereas right now, like third party repairs with Apple, like it's very limited.
You have
It's
to go
still
to the authorized repair
Yeah.
thingy, and it's like,
they really have a lot of control over it.
they do.
My worst, I guess, like Apple, like, failure to have coverage story was I had the first Apple Watch and I was like working out one day and then it was just like, I'm done.
It just
I
was
don't-
like,
It was like that.
died.
They were like, we had a good time and that's all. It was only like it was not very old. And so I went to the Apple store and I'm like, I think like maybe we can just like, reinstall the OS. And they're like, I don't know. We got to send this thing off and it's out of warranty. I'm like, oh, okay, send it off. See how much it would cost. And they got back to me. They're like, you can buy a new Apple Watch. And I'm like, well, we had a good run.
I mean, that's ultimately what they want you to do. They just want you
Yeah.
to keep buying
these
new
are
products.
the watches in particularly are really hard to repair anyway. So
Yeah.
anytime anything breaks, they're basically going to be like, how would you like a new watch?
Yeah.
So-
That's the thing. I don't think these devices would look the same if we had some sort of widespread repairability, like mandate.
That's very real. Like, I think, if you look at the Fairphone, actually, it is getting a lot nicer looking. But I do think a lot of these repairable gadgets, like, they gotta, they gotta make their
chunky.
trade-offs. They gotta make their trade-offs.
They chunky.
And some of them they do it and they look nice. And I think like Apple, like they're not going to make that trade, which they want to give you a reason to keep paying them money, right? That's great for them. I'm going to keep taking the risk.
Yeah, I don't think
But
I'm
if you're
excited up for this.
But Vision Pro early adopters,
Yeah, if you have the expensive
your moment.
stuff, it seems like it might be a worthwhile thing to sign up for.
I just think you have to math it out.
yes, it's very
There we
real,
go.
very real. Okay, Andy,
Yes.
what have you got for us?
All right, next one is that Uber announced that it was rolling out a new feature that it's had in a lot of other countries, but now it's going to be coming to the U.S. It's a driver preference and a rider preference feature for women. So if you are a woman who uses Uber and you would prefer to ride with a woman driver, you can set that preference now in the Uber app.
Hell
and
yes.
vice versa. A driver, if you're a woman who drives for Uber and you prefer to have women passengers, you could set that preference as well. Uber acknowledges this is likely to increase wait times because as of today, the vast majority of Uber drivers are men. It's something like 3-1. But it does seem like, they rolled this out in Saudi Arabia many years ago. It was very popular. And then they brought it to other countries in Europe and Asia. And now it's coming to the US. It's going to be in Los Angeles, Detroit, and San Francisco. And then they're going to try to roll it out across the rest of the country after that.
I would love if you could make it so that after a certain time of day, you could switch who you want driving you, because I have had some dicey Uber drivers in the past.
You are not alone.
I have
in
had
that
some dicey
experience.
Uber drivers in the past. Like, I've, also had situations where like our Uber was stuck in traffic and then I got a phone call because they were like, "You've been stuck in traffic. Are you safe? Are you going to be like unalived?" And I was like, "Oh, that happened to me recently,
Yeah.
actually." And I was like, "Oh, well, that makes me feel slightly better, but also not at the same time." And I will say that I think road rage is less common in the New York City area when I've had women drivers.
yeah.
Just the GWV pissing.
No, yeah.
Pissing my drivers
Statistically,
off.
women are safer drivers than men in a lot of cities and countries. It's I think what it does is it speaks to a larger problem that Uber's been having, and Lyft as well, and just really anyone in the ride-hail taxi business, which is that sexual assaults, harassment, violence, still a big problem in this industry. I think in its last report, that was released in 2024, Uber Safety Report covering the years of 2021 and 2022. There were 2,717 incidents of serious sexual assault and misconduct in its vehicles. This is either drivers assaulting passengers, passengers assaulting drivers. That's down from the previous period, but still a big problem for the company, and they're trying to like make things safer overall, it seems like, for people.
I do wonder if on a long enough timeline, this could actually increase the number of women who are driving for Uber.
I think it could,
Yeah.
Right? Because now there is a specific audience for them, and they're going to presumably have a safer time driving. I cannot, in memory, remember having a woman driving
Really?
Uber that I've gotten.
Yeah,
I've had a lot recently.
I've had a
Really?
few too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, it is certainly the case that for women who drive for Uber, we ran a feature in 2022, which I would encourage you to read. It is a extremely tough read, but the reporter whose name hold on, let me see, Anna Betts, she wrote this story. This is a great story. She interviewed like a dozen women who drive for Uber and Lyft, and the stories that they told were horrifying. Just, I'm sorry to say, but men are terrible in many, many contexts, and one of which is in an Uber vehicle. So, she talked to these women, and you can't imagine it's easy to imagine why more women don't drive for these services because of how horrible these experiences are. So I do think it could have the knock-on effect of getting more women to sign up to drive.
The hope is that it's just still a good enough experience in the meantime, because I mean, honestly, the wait times are rough in general sometimes.
Yeah.
And if you have to wait for one of a subset of drivers.
I wish it could be just like, yes, that's my preference, but if there are none within
You
this
can,
time
yes.
period,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
then
They do let
just
you.
I'll accept a man.
Yeah.
Like
They say that
it's
you
fine.
can as you're hailing the ride, you can say, "I'd like this to be a woman," and that's also the case that Uber, you have to verify your identity, so they're making sure that men are not like falsely
Right.
impersonating to ensure, so that they're not, and if something like that happens, they encourage people to report it to Uber and they'll kick them off the app essentially. But if they say that if you see the wait time and it's like an hour until your car comes versus 2 minutes for Joe the driver to swing by. Maybe,
Sometimes you'll take that risk because my last Uber driver, I will say, I do feel like a female Uber driver would have a better smelling Uber because the last Uber I got into, the man, I got in and I was like, he clearly crop dusted right before I got in. And this is
not good. This is the most scatological Vergecast I've ever done. No, but I think it's also what it speaks to that's interesting to me, just to wrap it up, is that, Uber thought since the beginning that this like 5-star system was going to be the end all be all. That, you rate the driver, they rate you, and this is going to weed out all of like the bad apples. Clearly that has not worked out at all. And if anything, it has offered more opportunities for predators and other people who, commit these types of violence to continue to do so. So, hopefully as they continue to tweak these features, we can see some more safety in the system.
All right, Vee, you've got one last story to wrap us up.
Labubu.
Hell yeah. Let's go, baby.
Let's go into Labubus. So Mia wrote a really great just write-up of how hard it is to get a Labubu and how these little freaky ass toys have gotten so popular in the last few months. And, I am not saying that I wanted a Labubu, but having read this and watched the social video, I definitely do not have it in me to
Okay.
get a Labubu.
Can I just ask you really, really quick? I refused to learn what a Labubu is for the longest time. What is a Labubu?
A Labubu is a creepy little doll that has these little ears and they're fuzzy on the outside and they have these little angry, toothy grins. They're part of the subsect of thing that, like, the Japanese term for it is kimo kawaii, which is like ugly cute. So they're ugly, but they're kind of cute, and they're just they're the next collectible craze. People are going crazy for them. Like blind boxes, if you've ever had a blind box, which is like a little box that you go at like these.
That
little
seems to be the thing that
stores.
is really driving the craze.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the
They're blind.
mystery of it.
It's a mystery of it. It's a little box. You can get one of X amounts of figurines. You open it and you're like, oh, what a surprise! And then it like triggers into this primal collective urge that you gotta get them all, like a Pokemon. So people are just going nuts over these Labubus to the point where they're so hard, and it's like artificial scarcity, right? So they're so hard to get. There's Labubu drops, and people are just trying to get these Labubus, but they're also...
That was the thing that floored me watching Mia's video, was
right?
the drop
There's
aspect of
like a
it
drop, and you have
insane.
to like go into this app, and you can't
It was
press
it was
too many
gamified,
times. It's
basically.
gamified.
Yeah.
But at a point that I really liked was that some people just don't care, so they get Lafufus, and Lafufus are the dupes. They're like the knockoffs. So now, I see these TikToks all the time, and people are like, that's not a Labubu, that's a Lafufu. And they're like, don't insult my Labubu, that's a Labubu, it's not a Lafufu. And I just have been like, what the hell are these things? What are these? So now we have a 3D printed Labubu in our office.
I did see this, and it was beautiful. It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's gold.
Mhm.
It's there.
We're not worshiping it, just
We're
to
not
be
worshiping
clear.
it.
It's
Well,
not
you're
our.
not
We're not.
worshiping
It's
it.
not a new idol in the office. It's
But to be clear, we were jealous, and so we knocked her off our own. We had to.
Because Mia did get a Labubu.
I don't.
But it's going to take 2 months to get the
I
Labubu.
do not understand fundamentally. Like, what is this mechanism to buy them? Why do you have to keep tapping things?
It's just a draft.
This seems like worse than buying concert tickets. At least with concert tickets, you go in and you're like, I'm gonna find out instantly the bots got them all. I'm gonna be upset, but like at least it will be over quickly. And this seems like you spend like hours like tapping your phone screen.
I will not be. That's a little much for me. But like, just as like an observer of the human condition, the Labubu has just been like, what the. Wow. I went to a Stray Kids concert in June, and like my bias, which is like your favorite member, he was up there, Felix, and he had a blue Labubu on him. I was like, they got you too? They got Felix? Felix got a Labubu now? Oh my God. And I was like, I guess I got to look up what a Labubu is for real.
Well, you know who has a blue Labubu to flip?
Mia.
Yeah.
Mia has a blue Labubu now.
Mm.
Like, I don't want a Labubu. My bestie, her parents went to the Louvre in France. And apparently they were selling a full Labubu as artist blind box set.
Oh my God.
And so it's like Labubus in different, like a Van Gogh Labubu,
my God.
a Starry Night Labubu. And I went over to her house, and she just had them all displayed. And I was like, when did you get into Labubus? And her parents were like, we had to get them because they were at the Louvre. And I was like, they have Labubus at the Louvre?
I just want to describe the I'm watching Mia's video right now, and what looks like a pentagram like appears on the screen and is like swirling.
They have summoned the Labubu.
And now you've got these stores saying that they're not going to sell them because they think that they're satanic.
Lafufu.
That's the Lafufu.
I don't know.
It's
It's also just really fun to say Labubu, Lafufu, Lagugu, Lavuvu.
We're like, I don't know, 2 weeks away from something like truly horrific happening, I feel, with this trend. Either that or they're going to be like the hot new Halloween costume in October.
I mean, it's slightly better than the Sunny Angels, which are like the naked babies that come with Cupid mayonnaise.
I'm old enough to remember the Beanie Baby craze. My grandmother got sucked into that, and when she passed away, we inherited her Beanie Baby collection, which was literally a trunk full of
That's
these
what this
things.
is. It's Labubus are the Beanie Babies of 2025.
I thought they were maybe like the TikTok version of Funko Pops.
They are.
Like they're like,
yeah, there's an element to that as well. They look more like Funko
like
Pops than.
Especially if they're doing like different versions of them, like a Starry Night one. Like that's the Funko model. You're like, I'm gonna do this branded one for like each character.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
I like that there are dupes though. I feel like that is a sign of a culture that is like evolving.
They also have lore. There's like Labubus have boyfriends, and there's a Mokoko, and there's there's a whole lore. I went into it and I went like, I'm too old for this shit. But I appreciate that it's there.
Vee, I'm going to need you to chase this down. Report back next week. We got to know, are the Labubus satanic? Are they corrupting our children? Will somebody put a mic in them and make them into AI gadgets?
Oh, that's inevitable.
That's the future. That's it for the Thunder Round, and that's it for the Vergecast. We are off next week. Mia Sato will host Tuesday's episode when we come back on August 5th. If you like what we do here, the best way to support us is to buy a subscription to The Verge. Go to theverge.com. We actually just had a really big update to the website. If you make an account, you can now sign up and follow specific topics and authors. These two, good starting points. Me, take it or leave it. It's all right. Please check that out. Let us know what you think. If you have questions or want to contact us, you can email us at vergecast@theverge.com or give us a call, 866-VERGE11. The Vergecast is a production of the Verge and Vox Media Podcast Network. Our show is produced by Eric Gomez, Brandon Kiefer, Travis Larchuk, and Andrew Marino. We'll see you next week.